It's the battle of the budget beasts. In the bright blue corner is the £150 Microsoft Lumia 640, and in the white corner it's the Honor Ollie, which retails for just £110 SIM-free. Both are cheap, both are brilliant, but which one is deserving of your hard-earned cash? Shiny plastic is the order of the day for both of these phones. In the Lumia's case, it's a bright blue finish. Of course, it's available in a range of colours though, while the Honor Ollie ships with a white back. The Holly is slightly more curvaceous than the Lumia 640 and a tiny bit more compact, but there's very little to separate these phones, even down to the placement of their physical buttons and the camera positions. Both devices use quad-core chips. In the Lumia 640's case, it's a 1.2 GHz Snapdragon 400 processor paired up to 1 GB of RAM. The Holly, meanwhile, has a slightly higher clock speed of 1.3 GHz from its Cortex A7 chip, again linked to 1 GB of memory. As you've probably guessed, there's very little difference in performance. Both are adequately quick in day-to-day use, both run the most recent games with a respectable frame rate, and that includes demanding 3D titles, and both run movies without batting an eyelid. If you take a lot of pictures, videos, or store a lot of music, then the Holly is the better bet straight out of the box. It offers 13 GB of usable storage from its 16 GB total. The Lumia 640, on the other hand, offers just 8 GB of storage, so you'll find yourself running out sooner rather than later. Both phones can be upgraded with a microSD card, but here's the twist. The Holly can only accept a maximum of 32 GB, while the Lumia 640 goes all the way up to 128 gigs. The Lumia 640 has a clear advantage over the Holly where battery life is concerned. We found that the Lumia excelled in our tests, lasting a full 2 days between charges with ordinary use. The Holly, meanwhile, usually lasted us a day with similar usage. If you hammer the Holly with non-stop video streaming or gaming, it'll last for a little over 4 hours before giving up the ghost, which is a little below average for most value phones. Both phones offer a decent enough camera too. In both cases, it's an 8 megapixel sensor with autofocusing and an LED flash. The Lumia 640 appears to have an edge in the overall quality and has a useful rich capture mode, which can actually adjust the exposure of your photos if they turn out too dark or too bright. The Holly, however, holds its own when it comes to close-up photography, managing to get objects in focus from very short distances. On paper, the Holly should have the best selfie camera, as it's a 2 megapixel unit with a beauty mode, but in practice the 0.9 megapixel snapper on the Lumia 640 produces far better images. Overall, the Lumia 640 is the better camera phone. Both the Holly and the 640 have a 5-inch screen and both run at 720p resolution. There isn't an awful lot of difference between them, but if we had to pick just one, we'd go with the Lumia, because its contrast level is slightly better. Blacks just look that tiny little bit blacker, and it's less reflective, which helps things look slightly less washed out. Both of these phones are very good budget offerings that will serve you well in day-to-day life. The Honor Holly is ultimately the cheapest of the two, so if price is your number one priority, then we'd recommend that one over the Lumia. But that said, the Lumia is probably better value. You pay more for it, but you get a slightly better looking handset, with a slightly better camera too, slightly better screen, and significantly improved battery life. But whichever one you go for, you shouldn't be left disappointed.